Kim with heisreal.com, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about eliminate your writing with evidence. Well, what in the world does that mean? Well, as we were talking about before, you talk about the evidence that you have, maybe a plot, or just an idea, an undeveloped idea that maybe you have written down, or you were inspired. You know, definitely as creative types, we have inspiration at the weirdest times. But and if you're like me, you keep a notebook handy or something that you can always write down that idea. But you want to really, really work on it. So we're going to talk about maybe some questions to ask yourself, and we're going to compare it to a movie called Avatar, which I'm sure everyone here has seen. If not, you really should see it. It's a really great movie. We're going to talk about think of yourself as like a news reporter, and they ask the questions. You've got your idea, right? And you're going to ask, what, when, where, how, and why. You need to be able to answer all of those questions, and make sure that when you're writing that it's very clear and concise. You know exactly who your audience is. You know the age range. You know what they like. You know their pop culture. You know their interests, their likes, dislikes. You know their problems, whatever it is, and you have an idea and you begin to develop it. Well, let's talk a little bit about Avatar. Now, we know James Cameron wrote the epic movie Avatar, and he spent what, $200-something million to make this movie. Well, obviously we don't have that. But no matter what your budget is, whether it's 0, whether it's 10, whether it's 500, 1,000, whatever your budget is, story is key. It's always taking your audience on a journey. Well, we're going to talk about, Avatar. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I feel it is to me and what I got out of the movie. As you know, it's a really good epic tale of humans going to an alien place, and they're looking to get, the U.S. government was looking to get this particular kind of rock and everything that was on this particular planet that they were on, and I can't remember the name of it, I'm sorry, but the idea is still the same. So here you are, you got this. Well, science, he made a very plausible, believable opportunity using possible science technology to put the human brain into an avatar that looks just like them, so that they could learn and grow and understand. And little did, as all the characters began to develop, you fell in love with all the characters. You hated the villains, the people who didn't really understand this culture, if you will. And it was important, to really develop that believability. Now, we know there's no way that you could ever put your brain in an avatar and go on an alien planet like that. But he made it so real. So I'm just going to ask a few questions, about that. So what did you ask yourself this, for instance? What did I notice first about the evidence, and then of course what was most obvious about it? Well, what I noticed was it seemed so real. It seemed very plausible. It seemed like an opportunity. And I'm the type of person that seize the day, whatever the opportunity is. Of course, it has to fit in with my mission statement. But here it is. They're able to, seize this opportunity. You don't question the believability, because it's so, I don't know, probable, I guess. So that was one of the first things that I noticed. And then what was the most obvious? Well, obviously, there's just no way you can put your brain in an avatar and go onto an alien planet. I mean, hello? That doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, at the end, as his spirit leaps into this avatar body, and he becomes, part of this world. But the story is what made it. The characters are what made it. The plot, the twists, everything about this movie is what made you believe it and want to believe it. as unbelievable as it is. So yeah. So how do I feel about what I'm seeing or reading? Well, for me, I felt like it was a pretty good epic story about being able to take what culture or environment that you don't understand and begin to put yourself in their shoes. And I think of ministry. When we're ministering to people and we're ministering to different kinds of people, we can't just judge them and go, okay, well, obviously, well, for instance, in Avatar, they didn't, the guy Jake went in there, he was a military guy, he had a mission, he'd been trained, let's go, let's make this thing happen. But he began to realize there's so much more to this. And the story began to constantly unfold. So as you're writing, remember, don't just assume your audience is going to know. You need to tell them. Well, you need to show them, really. You've got to take them on that journey. And how you choose to tell them. You don't have to, how you choose to establish the story, where you choose to take the plot and all the twists and the subplots. It's important that you know and really, really dissect it and read it and answer these questions for yourself. Are there any obvious patterns in the evidence? Well, the obvious pattern, I guess, I would think to me is, it didn't have any, I don't know, real repetition or, anything like that, but it had a plausible, believable, fictional plot and characters. You obviously you fell in love with all these characters and you began to hate the villains. You began to feel what the other culture was like, because the story took you on that journey. You got to experience what they felt, how they felt it, the way they felt it, what they did, who they were, what it took to be a part of them. I mean, it really opened up something incredibly, incredibly rich, I think. So when I look or read the evidence again, can I find things that were maybe not so obvious from the first consideration? I mean, that's, like I said, that story was incredibly rich. And it just, it took you on this journey. And I'm sure, and when I was reading, when he wrote this, it was somewhere right after, he was going to make this film, right after James Cameron was going to make this film right after he did Titanic. But he said himself he wasn't going to do it because technology hadn't caught up with quite yet with his idea, so he had to wait, till 2009, 2010 to make this film. So, of course, again, we don't have that kind of budget. I'm just using this as an example of what you can do. But remember, what you have to find a creative way to convey it to your audience. So he had to creatively find a way for you to care and to love these characters. When at first, why would you even care? I mean, really, who cares? You're seeing it from Jake's point of view, and then you through Jake, are being taken on this journey, and you're seeing all the conflicts and all the twists and all the turns. So remember, you have to answer all the evident questions that is going to absolutely make your film, your screenplay, your writing, your book, your play, whatever it is. So what is your evidence about, and what can you conclude about that? Again, what is your idea about? Is it plausible to your audience? As you have an idea, whatever it is, if you're ministering, if it's about salvation, if it's, whatever it is, or just even ministering to people, just being able to share even the gospel truth, it's obvious to you what happened on the cross, but someone who doesn't have that kind of revelation, knowledge, and understanding, you have to be able to share that in your own words and in your own experience, and honestly taking them on that journey. I know I say that a lot. I'm going to be very repetitious with that, but it really, really helps them to understand. You know, and what do you conclude? Going back to Avatar, what did you conclude? For me, I concluded that it is very, very important to not judge a book by its cover, to try to somehow coexist. I'm not talking about some of the dangerous things, but I'm talking about just the very, very simple things and different cultures and different people. I have a story I'll share with you. This just happened recently. Sunday after church, we went down, had a bunch of kids with us. My son had some of his friends, and I have two boys. And we were all trying to figure out where we're going to go after lunch to go eat. So we decided to go down the street to McDonald's. The kids there's always something there for the kids to eat, which I'm not really a big McDonald's fan, but it worked. So we go there. Well, there was a girl who walked in, and she had these dreads in her hair. You could tell she was dirty, and I wondered if she was traveling. I looked around, and she was with a guy and a dog, and they were holding up a sign, and they were, wanting people to give them money and stuff like that. Now, I had a choice here, and I know a lot of times, like here where I live, it's really big where people really do panhandle, and everything like that. But my heart was really pricked because they were a very young couple. So I personally, I prayed about it, and God led me to give them some money and, to share the gospel truth. Now, they weren't necessarily interested in receiving Jesus, but I knew that I had planted a seed, and I had planted a seed of love. So I think about Avatar. It's the same way, I know we're talking about movies, but just conclude you can never judge a book by its cover. You always have to be able to answer every single question. Know your audience, know their likes and dislikes, and be able to I guess do your message, around that. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I guess I will see you definitely next time. Take care. Bye.